The place where we're walking today is not a random place. This place, the Orto Botanico in Padova, built in 1545, is the oldest botanical garden in the world. It was built not for beauty but for healing, for students to learn how to grow and use plants that could save lives. And today, we walk here to remember what healing really means, because preservation isn't the same as life. Not all medicine comes in bottles. Some of it is silence. Some of it is memory. And some of it is this WalkCast. At the heart of this garden, inside the greenhouse, stands something important and really, really big. It's a palm, planted in 1585. The oldest living plant in this garden. They call it Goethe's palm because it inspired Johann Wolfgang von Goethe's theory of metamorphosis. The idea that all forms of life evolve from a shared origin, and that nothing stays the same, that every form is just a moment in motion. But look at this palm. It doesn't really look free. It lives inside this glass cage. It's protected and preserved, but almost has no space inside and unable to stretch towards the sky. Like many of us, we build greenhouses around our emotions and fears, and we manage them, and we call it stability, but it's not. It's just a greenhouse for pain. We are alive inside, but we're not really living, just lasting. We protect and control, but sometimes we protect so much that we stop life itself. And we do this with people, with dreams, and with ourselves. We try to sit with one ass on two chairs. We want change, but demand safety. We crave freedom, but cling to control. We long for love, but fear being seen and vulnerable. And feeling stuck, that feeling that we talk about in this playlist, at the core of what keeps us stuck are often the invisible forces of fears that we never name, the hidden forces that limit us, the hidden forces that we all carry, but they show up in different ways, the hidden forces that shape everything. The fear you're not important, so you overcompensate, overachieve. The fear you'll be left without resources, so you grip tightly. The fear of being boring, so you gossip or prove yourself endlessly. The fear of being abandoned, so you become overly nurturing or hold on too tight. The fear of losing your throne, being replaced or irrelevant, so you shine louder than you feel. The fear of not being perfect, so you critique, correct, over-clarify, never rest. The fear of being alone, so you settle for less than you deserve. The fear of losing control, so you dominate or manipulate. The fear of having no mission or direction, so you chase chaos just to feel alive. The fear of being ignored or not being prioritized, so you push power or you rebel against tradition, or you passionately believe in alternative or underground systems. The fear of losing freedom or being dependent, so you detach, disappear, and run. The fear of being misunderstood, seeming weak, not accepted. So you hide the very things that make you beautiful in the first place. These fears are real, but that's okay, because you're human. And because where there's fear, there is always potential. And because these fears are just invitations and mechanisms. What is the most dangerous mechanism of all? It's this one. Many people don't want to be happy. They just want to be right. And that's the quiet tragedy. You argue instead of asking. You hide instead of risk being seen. You stay in pain because at least it's familiar, predictable pain. You call it being realistic, but it's just fear in a tailored suit. And it's not your fault. You are trained to protect yourself and believe that safety comes from control and from being right. But what once protected you is suffocating you now. And the way out of it is not force but softness. Just watching, like a quiet observer, and witnessing your own patterns and noticing what others might be feeling too. That's how healing begins. When you allow yourself to simply be. And underneath all of this are roots of guilt. Guilt for not being enough, guilt for being too much, guilt for saying no, for needing rest, for putting yourself first, guilt for not doing more, for not being better, guilt for wanting more, guilt for being too loud, too quiet, too soft, too hard, too different, for simply being you. You're guilty, always guilty. But guilt isn't your compass, it's a cage. Guilt is not responsibility. Guilt is not integrity. Guilt is just control dressed as conscience. And all of that is a real trap. And then you're stuck. Like you got caught by one of those carnivorous plants here. Plants that feed not from the earth but from what they trap. They attract, and once the insect lands, they close, slowly and silently, like this rosera vinata, sticky, sweet, seductive. But these plants, they're not enemies. They just grow in places where the soil is thin or poor in nutrients, so they adapt. And so is our mind, starved of clarity, becomes a trap, feeding itself with guilt and fear. And if you repress it, it doesn't disappear. It attracts, it repeats, it consumes. Just like that relationship, where you're not truly seen but always needed, and you keep managing it. Just like that job that looks great on LinkedIn but empties your spirit, you hate it but you can't leave, and so on and so on. These patterns that you repress, they don't die, they provoke and seduce. And that is not wicked. That's nature. And that's us. And it's not just about patterns inside us, it's also about patterns between us. We don't just withhold from ourselves, we withhold from each other. We repress grief, yes, but we also repress our gratitude. We don't really tell people how they changed us. And not because we don't feel it, but because we're afraid of awkwardness and vulnerability. So we wait, we wait, we wait, we wait until it's too late. The eulogy delay, as Dan Cable, a professor of organizational behavior at London Business School, calls this. Eulogy delay is the cultural resistance to appreciating people's unique strengths and speaking beauty only when someone is gone. Most people never really hear the impact of their presence and how they matter, but when they do, it changes them. Empirical research found that we consistently underestimate how much gratitude means. It increases well-being, it increases motivation, and even our physical health. And gratitude is not about flattery, it's about acknowledgement. It's not about praise, it's about presence. You have no idea what your words could unlock in someone else. And you worry that if you say it, it will feel awkward. But they feel seen, moved. They actually feel meaning. And still, we stay silent. We're so strange with the timing of our gratitude and appreciation for one another. Or we think it's obvious, like they know, but they don't. I don't. You don't. The empirical research also shows that gratitude increases quality of life not only for those who receive it, but also for those who give. So all those people giving and receiving gratitude experience more joy and less depressive symptoms compared to a control group who live their lives as usual without any gratitude intervention. And people who are thanked often start thanking others, and the result is a self-motivating chain of gratitude, which is shared among more and more and more and more people. It's like a domino effect. So I'm wondering, why do we save all our praise for eulogies, and why do we offer presents only after absence? I'm wondering, why do we embrace that eulogy delay, and why do we wait for death to say, "You were incredible"? I'm wondering, why do we wait if we can say it all already today? Okay, now back to Goethe and his metamorphosis theory. Goethe didn't just write about plants, he wrote about life and said, everything is in state of becoming, nothing is fixed. So, change is not disruption, change is the design. And he wasn't alone in this truth. In Vipassana, for example, as we explored in the last episode, the same principle holds. The anicca principle. Impermanence. Nothing is static, not the leaf, not the root, not you. And that's really what this WalkCast episode is about. Not preservation, not control, not perfection. Because the more tightly you stick to forever, the more you miss the only thing that's real, which is this moment. And yet, as humans, resist and get stuck in transience aversion. Transience aversion is our resistance to thinking about our mortality. The science shows that most people try to keep mortality far, far, far away from their minds. You might be waiting and waiting and waiting for the right time, for someday, for I will be happy when, I will do it when. This depends on some sort of because. So we're waiting for the right time. The happiness delay. So what do we do with that, and how do we unstuck? There is one very powerful tool for healing. It's a very simple exercise, but its impact can be profound. It was one of the very first things that I encountered during my studies at London Business School, and it was for a good reason. So now, I invite you to try it too. Write your own eulogy, like really write it down. If today were the end, what would you want to hear and be remembered for? Don't think achievements, titles, your CV, or what you want to do. Think about impact. What have you done not to impress, but to uplift? And what is that people are grateful for? And how you want people to feel because you lived. And don't just think it, but write it down. Actually, you can write it down right here in the comments. Research shows that when we express our intentions publicly, we are far more likely to follow through. And that's important. This eulogy is important because in the end, People will forget what you said or what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. They will never forget how you made them feel. And sometimes, words are not needed at all. This makes me think of Franca. She passed recently. This botanical garden was her place, and that's why we walk here today. People will forget what you said or what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. I remember the first time I met Franca, and all I know that it felt great. Her smile, her energy, the way she welcomed me with open arms. She didn't speak any of my languages, and I didn't speak hers. I used to joke that it was perfect. I would never say anything wrong, and so we would always like each other. But have you ever thought how it actually works when there are no words, just eyes and energy? Pure, unfiltered, and real energy. You can't fake it. You can't hide behind sweet words, because it's raw and it's true. I would stop anyone from correcting her English, encouraging her to speak however she could, to feel seen, supported, and understood, gently implying, "Come on, you can." And she, with her presence, her smile, and her unconditional love, would answer without words. There is nothing to fear. You are accepted just the way you are. And so we were, almost not speaking, just sensing. There are things that speak louder than 1,000 words, and I'm forever grateful for that love and for that acceptance that doesn't need a language, and that will always live in my heart. So walk through your garden, through your mind, not as a tourist, but as someone remembering. Not everything here is blooming, not everything will last, but that's not sad, that's beautiful. Because your life is not a map, it's a territory, and you can rewrite that. And you can rewrite that and let the greenhouse break, because preservation isn't the same as life, and control is not safety, and your pain is not a museum exhibit. And you can overcome the hidden forces, the fears, the guilt, the eulogy delay, the happiness delay, the transience aversion. And you can let people know and be grateful before it's too late. And you can give yourself the courage to find self-acceptance, and you can offer up the best possible version of yourself to the people you love. And if you're ready, you can begin it already today. Because what if tomorrow was too late?